Pardon me. Joining us now by phone is Jordan Sekulow, who is the Executive Director of the American Center for Law and Justice. And also joining us is Pastor Saeed Abedini's wife, Naghmeh, and we are pleased to welcome her to the program. Welcome, folks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, Jordan, how do you pronounce your? Did Jim get it right?
Yes, that's close enough, Naghmeh.
Naghmeh, well, thank you for being on with us. Jordan, set this up for us, if you will. We've been following as best we can the story, since he was arrested last year, her husband. But tell us about it.
Sure. Well, on this Thursday, September 26th, Saeed will have spent an entire year in prison only because he is a Christian in Iran. And one of the worst prisons in Iran, Evin Prison. He's one of two Americans in prison there. The other American, Amir Hekmati, which has been in the news the past couple of days as there's been these discussions about the possibility, even after the president just gave his speech to the United Nations, and the president of Iran will be giving one later today as well, of the U.S., the United States, kind of reestablishing a relationship with Iran, that there are two Americans and one missing American inside Iran that we believe could easily be returned home. So did our U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, who tweeted last week that they must be returned home. Saeed was in prison, just for people to be clear. He was not charged, as many are in Iran, with being a spy or a political opponent of the regime. He was charged with being and convicted, sentenced to 8 years in what people have said who have gotten out, Christians who have gotten out on similar charges, that this is hell on earth, this prison, especially if you're a Christian and they know that you're a convert. But he was actually convicted of being a national security threat, not for being some kind of U.S. spy or Zionist spy, because of his work with house churches from the years 2001 to 2005. And this was on his 9th visit to Iran in the past 3 years, where he was building an orphanage with the local government's approval. He was doing everything upright, honest, straightforward. He was not a zealot. He wasn't trying to break the law, wasn't breaking the law, had not had problems on his previous visits, and then gets arrested, disappears, finally shows up in Evin Prison. And we've been representing the family and Naghmeh. He's a U.S. citizen, and Naghmeh, who's here in America, and she's in New York right now at the UN. We've been representing them within the first 24 hours that Saeed was arrested by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard last July. So he's been away from his family for well over a year. He's missed 2 birthdays of his daughter, who just turned 7 years old, and a letter that he wrote to her was just published. So this is something we've asked people to engage this week specifically. We've had over 600,000 people join our petition to help save Saeed. But on BeHeardProject.com, we've launched. Saeed wrote a new letter to the brand new Iranian president, appealing to him. And this is a key time. Even Ambassador Bolton, who was on with Greta Van Susteren last night on Fox News, was asked about a letter that Reverend Franklin Graham and Billy Graham are putting in the New York Times, a full-page letter that they're publishing, appealing to Iran's president on behalf of Saeed. And he said, this may, as much as he may disagree with some of the U.S. government's handling of this new possible relationship with Iran, this may be the opportunity. And they very well may release Saeed because of this kind of pressure. So we've asked people to join Saeed in writing a letter to the new Iranian president, just like Franklin and Reverend Billy Graham have done. And over 75,000, or actually now over 82,000 people, just looked at BeHeardProject.com, 87,000 people have written those letters. And we want to try and get to 104,000 by Thursday. That would be 2,000 letters for every week that Saeed has been imprisoned. We already hit our first goal, which was 52,000 letters, 1,000 for every week, and we hit that very quickly because of the outpouring of support from Americans and people around the world. There are vigils happening across the country. It's all on the website. On Thursday, I'll be at the one in D.C. Naghmeh will be in Idaho. My dad, Jay Seki, will be in one in Nashville. They're happening in over 70 cities in the United States and an additional 13 countries other than the United States.
Well, what is the website? You've mentioned website a couple of times.
BeHeardProject.com. BeHeardProject.com. You'll see Saeed right on the front of the homepage. You click on his picture, and you get all the information about how to write the letter, how to sign the petition, and where to find a vigil close to you.
Okay.
Naghmeh, how do you, by the way, where do y'all live in the U.S.?
Boise, Idaho.
Okay, you're from Boise. Are you Iranian originally?
Yes, I was born there, but I was in California for a few years, but mainly raised in Idaho.
Okay, and so you guys were on, you and Saeed were you on a trip back to Iran to visit your family?
No, we since 2009 we've started an orphanage
Okay.
with the Iranian government. Actually, they encouraged us to do so because Saeed had mentioned to them had told them that we're Christians, and he wants to help the people of Iran. They said, well, if you just continue with the house church movement, and if you want to help the people, why not do a humanitarian effort? So we decided to start an orphanage in a land he had from his grandfather, or his father had, and we built on that in the north of Iran. And he was working on that and traveling many times to Iran since 2009. The kids and I went back late 2011, hoping that the orphanage would be finished, but it wasn't. So we returned in earlier 2012, and Saeed went back in June of 2012 to finish the orphanage, and unfortunately they took him, and he's been gone since. He was put under house arrest since July when he was supposed to come back, and then he was taken physically to Evan Prison in September 26th, which will mark the 1-year anniversary. And he's been tortured and told that he would be freed if he would deny his Christian faith.
What has he been charged with exactly?
Undermining the Iranian national security, and the basis for the charge is gatherings.
Is what?
Christian gatherings.
Christian what?
Gatherings.
Like gathering?
Yeah.
Yes, Christians
House church.
getting together. Yes, house church, and it dates back to the year between 2000 and 2005, when Saeed was working under a government-approved building church, and the government at that time was more moderate. It was before Ahmadinejad. It was President Khatami, and he was allowing for these house churches at that time. And so they went back. There's nothing. They haven't said anything he's done to break his agreement with the Iranian government. And he was there. They haven't really said he's broken any law. And everything that they've told him has been, if he would deny his Christian faith and return to Islam, they would free him.
We're talking to Jordan Sekulow, and we're also talking to Naghmeh Abedini, and her husband is Saeed, and Saeed was arrested and is being held in prison in Iran. She just described what happened.
Naghmeh, you have 2 children, and as Jordan mentioned a moment ago, the husband has missed 2 birthdays for Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
How is this impacting the children? I know that's a rather dumb question. I know they miss their dad, but do they understand what's going on?
Yes, and these birthdays, and unfortunately, we're hoping that he'll be back before celebrating the second Christmas without him. The first one was very painful. The second birthdays and Christmases are very painful because, my daughter asked me, Mommy, how many more birthdays? And I couldn't answer her. And they're realizing their dad's not there. Their first day of school started, and I could see in their eyes, and I was trying to make it a happy day, but they were looking at other fathers, like checking their kids in and holding them, and I could see the longing in their eyes for their dad to be there. And so it's very painful for me when I see them missing him so much and longing for him so much and wanting their dad. And but second birthdays and second celebrations are harder because we're realizing they're growing up without him.
Mm-hmm.
They're realizing that. Saeed's realizing that. His family has said he's been very emotional lately, realizing he's missing more birthdays. And for me, as a wife and as a single mom now, it's hard not being able to share my life and the kids growing up and, having birthdays and graduations and school starting and losing their teeth and all these events I can't share with my husband. That's very painful for me.
Well, Jordan, what do you asking our listeners to do again?
We ask people to pray. There's vigils that are happening across the country. The Iranian president is here in the United States. Our president is talking about how Secretary of State Kerry will be meeting with the Iranian foreign minister. We have our U.S. government officials finally speaking out on behalf of Saeed, though the president has yet to do so. So I would ask people to, one, pray, and if they can attend those vigils on Thursday, if there's one near them, they can get that information at BeHeardProject.com. If they can't attend one, be in prayer this week for Saeed. This is a key moment, a key opportunity, and it's been acknowledged by people from across the aisle that this would be a clear time for Iran if they wanted to really try and reestablish some kind of diplomatic relations.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Naghmeh. Appreciate it. Sorry we got to rush. We'll be back in a minute.